Welcome to Module 8, the closing module of the Qlause Internal Auditor course, in the bridge between the two courses of this series. This is the skill in highest demand this transition cycle, auditing the requirements that are new in ISO 9001-2026. 4 worked audit trails: quality, culture, and ethics, the climate question, opportunities, and the change loop, plus the definitions, Annex A, and the internal transition audit. The reading for this module is the change ground itself, clauses 3, 4.1 and 2, 5.1.1, 6.1, 6.3, 7.3, and Annex A in your license copy. The usual reminder on method: the allocated time covers the whole approach: guide, standard, this video, then the quiz. This video is the guided lesson inside it. After this module, you will be able to do 5 things. Audit the culture and ethics thread, 5.1.1 with 7.3, using interview triangulation, fairly, and without turning into a culture consultant. Audit the climate question in 4.1 and 4.2 for reasoning and consistency, not for climate virtue. Walk an opportunity end-to-end under the restructured 6.1. Audit the change loop on real changes, and use Clause 3 definitions and Annex A properly at audit. Then assemble it all into the internal transition audit. Here is why this module earns its place. New requirements mean no established audit habits on either side of the table. The auditee has never answered these questions. The auditor has never asked them. The auditor who arrives with worked trails for the new ground will find what matters and grade it fairly. The auditor who improvises will do one of 2 things: miss everything or manufacture findings from vibes. Both are program failures. This module gives you the trails. Trail 1, Quality, Culture, and Ethics, 5.1.1 with 7.3. The method is triangulated interviews against a light evidence trail. Collect the trail first. Management review minutes and communications. Does culture appear as a real item or not at all? The concern-raising route and its case history. Does the channel exist and has anything ever moved through it? And any documented response to an integrity failure. Notice how light that is. No culture program is required, and you are not auditing for one. Proportionate evidence of behavior is the bar. Then interview in 3 layers, with parallel questions. Top management. Give me a concrete example of promoting the culture, and an ethical issue you acted on. Middle managers. Tell me about the last quality versus delivery conflict. Who decided, and on what basis? That question finds the truth of a culture faster than any other, because the conflict is where the stated values got tested. And operators. What happens when you stop the line? Would you report your own mistake? 3 layers, same subject, asked in each layer's own language. The finding logic is triangulation, straight from Module 4. Convergence across the layers plus the trail is conformity. Record it, it is a real result. Divergence is the finding, and it is written on the evidence of the divergence itself. 2 cautions. Do not audit for a culture program. None is required. And never write a culture finding as a personal accusation. The gap is systemic. The stated expectation is contradicted by consistent workforce accounts, not the MD is insincere. Culture findings written as character judgments destroy the audit relationship and are unprovable anyway. Systemic, evidenced, no villains. Trail 2, the climate question in 4.1 and 4.2. 3 checks in order. Presence. Is there a dated, reasoned climate conclusion in the context analysis? A blank is a finding, and so is boilerplate that could have been pasted into any company in any sector. Reasoning quality. Does the conclusion engage the organization's actual exposures, sites, logistics, energy, water, customer demands? You judge the reasoning against their operations using your sector knowledge. And consistency. Do 4.1, the 4.2 register, and the 6.1 register tell one story? Relevant in the context analysis with nothing downstream, or a customer's published sustainability requirements absent from the register, is where the real findings live. And the auditor's boundary on this trail, stated once and holding always. You audit the honesty and the coherence of the answer, never the answer itself. Not relevant because, followed by sound reasoning, conforms. Full stop. The standard requires the organization to consider whether climate change is a relevant issue. It does not require any particular conclusion. The moment you grade the conclusion instead of the reasoning, you have stopped auditing and started campaigning. Trail 3. Opportunities as a discipline, under the restructured 6.1. Open the register and read its shape first. 40 risks and 3 orphan opportunities is the 2015 hangover the restructured clause was written to expose. Then pick one opportunity and walk it exactly as you would walk a risk. How was it identified? Is it linked to context? How was it evaluated? With genuine upside logic, benefit and feasibility, or a nonsense likelihood times harm score borrowed from the risk side? Who owns it? What action ran? And did anyone review whether the benefit landed? The 9.3 cross-check. Also test for a working definition. The standard still does not define opportunity, so the coherence of the whole discipline depends on the organization's own definition. Ask for it. And grade this trail fairly, because it is easy to get puritanical about it. Seriousness beats volume. A register with 5 real opportunities, 2 of them actioned, with an honest review of whether the benefit arrived, conforms handsomely. A register with 40 entries generated for the auditor's benefit conforms at the surface and fails everywhere that matters. Volume is not the requirement. Seriousness is. Trail 4. The Change Loop. 6.3, with 8.5.6 for operational changes. Sample recent changes. 1 systemic, a new ERP module, a reorganization, and 1 operational, a new supplier, a revised process step. Walk each against the closed loop. Was the purpose planned and the consequences considered? Was communication planned and delivered to the people affected? And here, ask the night shift, not the form. Was an effectiveness measure defined before implementation? And is there a dated review with an honest verdict? The telltales on this trail are wonderfully reliable. The fake. Effectiveness fields filled in uniformly with "works fine," dated the day of implementation. Nobody measured anything. The loop exists on paper only. The strength. A change record whose review says, "Under-delivered, follow-up action raised." That organization is running the loop for real, because honest negative verdicts are the one thing a paper exercise never produces. On this trail, an admitted shortfall is the conformity signal. 2 tools for the audit bag. Clause 3's in-standard definitions are the argument settlers. When a dispute turns on what process or documented information means, the definition inside the audited standard is the reference. Carry it, cite it, close the argument. And Annex A is the interpretation companion. Informative, never citable in a finding, but the best available guide to how the new requirements are meant to be read. Internal auditors should refresh against it at publication. And then the internal transition audit assembles everything. Scope it to exercise all 4 trails plus the carried system. The transition audit is not only about the new ground. Run it far enough ahead of the certification body's visit to close what it finds. An internal audit 2 weeks before the external one documents your problems for the certification auditor without leaving time to fix them. And feed its results to management review as the readiness verdict. That audit, competently done, is the single highest value deliverable an internal audit program will produce this cycle. Let me close the trails with the worked example, a culture finding written properly, because this is the one auditors get wrong most expensively. The evidence. The MD, interviewed on the 12th of August, states the open reporting expectation and cites 2 town halls. Management review minutes for 2 quarters show a standing culture item. And 5 of 6 operators, interviewed across 2 shifts, independently state that reporting your own errors leads to blame and is avoided. A shift supervisor confirms, "We sort issues out quietly." The statement. The quality culture expectation communicated by top management is not reflected in consistent workforce accounts of error reporting practice. The promotion of the intended culture is not demonstrably effective. 5.1.1 with 7.3. Look at what that finding is. Systemic, evidenced, and there are no villains in it. Nobody is accused of insincerity. A system gap is named on triangulated evidence. The practice note. Build the 4 trails into your standard work documents now, before your certification body arrives with its own version of them. And understand what you are really offering. Auditees experience the internal program as the safe rehearsal space for the new questions. They get to meet the climate question, the culture interviews, the opportunity walk with a colleague before it counts. That is precisely the service an internal audit program exists to sell. Let us gather the module and the course. Culture. Triangulate 3 layers against a light trail. Divergence is the finding, written systemically, never as accusation. Climate. Audit presence, reasoning quality, and the 4-1, 4-2, 6-1 consistency, never the conclusion itself. Opportunities. Walk one end to end with upside logic. Seriousness beats volume. Check the 9.3 review. The change loop. Sample real changes. Predefined measures and honest verdicts are the conformity signal. Clause 3 definitions settle arguments. Annex A guides interpretation, but is never citable. And the internal transition audit is this cycle's highest value audit. Scope it to all 4 trails and run it early. And that is Module 8, and the taught content of the Qlause Internal Auditor course, complete. You have walked the whole discipline, the program, the plan, the fieldwork, the findings, the report and closure, the auditor, and the new ground of 2026. What remains is assessment. Take the Module 8 quiz, 10 questions, pass mark 80%. Then, with all 8 module quizzes passed, sit the final exam. 40 questions sampling every module, pass mark 75%. Pass it, and you have earned the Qlause Certificate of Attainment for this course, with its unique verifiable ID. Thank you for training with Qlause, and go audit like it matters, because it does.